Welcome. It's Sandy Missouri, and this is the second interview of Authors Week. I am so excited because I have with me my good friend and client and just all around amazing guy, Herb Flight Time Lang. He was a former Harlem Globetrotter. Now he's a motivation speaker and coach and just all around great guy. In fact, you know what, Herb, why don't you tell us what you're doing these days and what you're up to?
Well, Sandy, I appreciate that
And
amazing.
welcome.
I mean, my main purpose right now is just to do whatever I can to give back and make a difference in people's lives. And that comes in the form of motivational speaking. That comes in the form of the books that the book that I've published and the things I have coming up. Just an eye-opening experience. Just when I reflect on my life and think about all the experiences, and I realize that it's my duty now to share my experiences with people. And that I can, maybe help some people that may be dealing with some of the same issues that I have dealt with along the way. And maybe my stories will allow them to get a quicker pathway to where they're trying to get to in the end.
Nice. So this is your book. I just want to show it on screen. Projects, Popes, and Presidents. And it's a great book. I really enjoyed working with you on it. And so you kind of alluded to it a little bit just a second ago, but if you could share with us, why did you write your book?
Well, after traveling with the Globetrotters for 18 years, I would come home from tour and I would sit down with many of my friends, and they would, of course, want to hear the stories of things that happened on the road, the experiences that I had. And at the end of several conversations, they would always say, "You should write a book. You should write a book." And when my career came to an end in 2017, I took a year off and I traveled, and I realized that it was time for me to actually share my authentic story and write that book that all my friends have been encouraging me to write about. And through writing that book, it did a lot of things for me. It allowed me to reflect on my life, allowed me to face some situations that I hadn't necessarily, taken on, and allowed me to advance and become a better person. Some of the things that happened in my life I had actually forgotten about until I actually sat down over the course of several months and reflected. And I think by doing that reflecting, I think I wrote a pretty good book, and it's allowed me to move forward into the things that I'm doing right now. And that's trying to do my part and continue what I did for 18 years with the Globetrotters, and that's to advance the world and make it a better place for everybody in the world, being that I've traveled to almost 90 different countries around the world.
Wow. One of the things that I really love about your book is just your positive attitude, that no matter what happens, you're always looking for the lesson in it. You're always looking how you can get better, how you can grow from it, rather than taking the victim stance. And I just really love that no matter what, that's always been your you embrace it, and that whole attitude of, okay, now I get to do this.
It's funny that you say that, because even after writing the book and reading the book, I didn't even realize that was the outlook that certain people would get. And when I was doing my life insurance about a year ago, my manager, Bruce, after reading my book, that's what he noticed about it. He's like, "Man, I just love how no matter what happened in your life, you always just found the positive or the silver lining in it." And he called it the Herb Lang mentality. And I was like, all right, maybe I should take that one. But one of the things I realized, and I still continue to realize, is, people continue to, not necessarily always do the things that you expect them to do or feel that they should do for you. People that have, maybe hurt you the most in life, those are the people that you probably can learn the most from, because those people are the ones that stick in your brain. You're thinking, what can I do to prove these people wrong or show them that they were wrong for treating me the way that they did? But the ultimate strength is being able to actually go back in and forgive those people and even help those people, who you learn those great lessons from.
Yeah, that is, that's an amazing thing to do. Superhuman, I would say. I mean, that's definitely not most people's first instinct, I think. So to really be able to see everything in that perspective, rather than the whole, well, woe is me, or, oh, well, forget about it now, my life's not going the way I want, so I'm just gonna, turn to alcohol and do nothing. I mean, there's so many micro choices, that you have to make to adopt that spirit of positivity in the face of challenges.
Well, I mean, we all start out at birth and we have a clear mind. So most of the things that we learn, we're taught. And then we get to a point in our life where we get to choose. And we can choose to move forward, or we can choose to decide to blame our parents for the way that we were raised, for the shortcomings and obstacles that we face in our adult life, And if you continue to look back in that misery, it's going to be difficult for you to move forward, especially if you don't take any lessons from it.
Yeah, it's true. You're right. it's just not always so easy to keep that top of mind when you're in the emotional storm. And so that's one of the things that I just really loved about reading your book and working with you and talking to you is, you're always bringing that spirit of positivity and that search for the silver lining. And I just love that. So speaking of, talking about challenges and things like that, let's talk about the writing and publishing process. I mean, when you decided that you were ready to start writing your book, did you have any fears about writing and publishing?
Well, Sandy, I'm the kind of person that likes to cut the middleman out from time to time. So I did the Google search, the YouTube, everything, that the basics of how to write a book. I joke and say it was the top dummy how to write a book 101 that anyone could possibly do. But I went to a good school at Centenary. I graduated college, with a decent GPA as well as high school. So my writing and stuff is something that I developed through those courses of my education, good teachers. And it's really not an easy process. The hardest part is actually for me, it was actually getting started. Once you get started and then you go through the mental blocks, the phases where you can really, really write. And then there's times when you can't think of anything to write and you wake up in the middle of the night, but you just have to get up and challenge yourselves at those times. I think so, to actually write down what you're thinking. Otherwise you won't remember them. And then, just kind of go back through it, reflect, figure out how the pieces come together, take out the things that you want to take, and figure out what you want to say for the next book.
So when you started your writing process, I mean, at the very beginning, you're like, okay, you know what, I think I'm going to do this. And what did you need to do to prepare yourself mentally to just get started? Or was it just simply a matter of, that athlete's training of, I'm going to do the thing I don't want to do?
Well, I feel like I had already written it in my mind several times before I actually started to put the pen to the paper. And for me, it was notebook paper. It was the way I learned how to write in elementary school, notebook paper, writing down groups of thoughts. I probably had about 300 sequence of events in my life over the 2-week period, just writing down these events. And then I began to group them together, and then I began to decide if this was worthy of going into the book, or if I should save it for another time, or if I should just forget it. Once I did that process of grouping these chapters and erasing and actually putting things back where they, belong, that's when I actually began to type. I began to type, reread the chapters, look and see what I'm putting in, look over the 300 things, see if I'm missing any of those things, and then move on to the next chapter, reread it. And that was my process. And it took me actually about 3.5 months. I mean, I'll tell you, there were a couple of times, I think I wrote 12 or 14 chapters. 2 of those chapters were written in 2 days.
Wow.
There was a chapter that probably took 2 weeks to write. That's just how it kind of went. But it's a process that's worth it. And the feedback that I've been getting as a result of it, and the opportunities I've been getting to connect with people and spread my motto of kindness and generosity and positivity, has been worth it for me. And that's thanks to you. After I got the book actually written and helping me get it promoted in that part. So thank you. And I'm happy that we continue to work together and we have this relationship, and I'm excited because there will be more books to come.
Likewise. I'm also, I loved working with you, and I look forward to doing it again. So I really want to dive more into this writing process, because this is where so many people falter, right? So many people say, yeah, I'd like to write a book, but then they just get freaked out by the blank page and they don't know where to go next. So I really love that you're talking about how you kind of, you ruminated on it for a while, you kind of built it in your head, and then you kind of started jotting down these stories that you wanted to tell. Was it just kind of that you jotted down the stories as they occurred to you, or were you kind of going, okay, let's see, what is the earliest story I want to tell, and starting with a chronology?
So that's great you asked that, because I've told several of my former Globetrotter teammates my process. I said you could start with just thinking back. It depends on what you're writing. My book is about my life. So I just challenged them. I said, reflect back to the first thing that you remember in your life, like whether it was good or bad. Think about it, and then do that 10 times, and then just continue to go. So if you think about the first 10 things that you really in your mind can picture happening, and you start to tell a story about it, that's how you get started. And you just go from there. And some of these things that you think about are going to be painful. Some of them are going to be funny. Some of them you're going to be like, wow, they're going to be aha moments, and you realize why you picked up or why you started to do certain things. It started those first 7 years of your life. So that's what I tell people. I said, think about the first things that you can remember as far back as you can remember. I mean, for me, it was, running around in our projects with my Forrest Gump leg braces on. It was, hanging out with my grandparents and playing out in the open field even before going to elementary school. So those were some of my earliest memories, and I just began to build on those. Some of, all the memories that if you read my book, they weren't always the best memories, but those are the ones that I have no problem attacking and challenging, because a lot of those can attack those. And that's what's holding a lot of us back. So I want to challenge people to attack those, strong things that's holding you back, move forward. If we haven't learned anything this year, we've learned that life is unpredictable and life is short. And if you stay stuck in the past, like a lot of us are, we're going to have a hard time moving forward. And I choose to move forward, and I choose to bring all of those people who want to move with me forward with me.
Love it. And okay, so you got your book basically written. I mean, did you find that throughout the writing, publishing, I mean, did you find any challenges? Was there anything that, was especially overwhelming or a sticking point or anything like that?
Well, as a self-publisher, for me, and I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money. For me, it was like, I don't want to spend the money. But one of the things I've also learned over the past course of the years, that you have to bet on yourself and you have to get over the money block, especially if you have access to the funds, because at the end of the day, it's not your money. And what you're investing in, what I'm invested in as far as writing, is not myself, it's everybody else. So when you put it in those terms, and you just go for it. If God gave it to you for a certain reason, he didn't give it to you to sit on, I don't think. It gave you enough. And so you invest in yourself and you continue to build. And so for me, that was the hardest part, just giving over the fact that I don't want to pay for publishing. I don't want to pay for help. I've written all of this, and, but there's steps to everything. You can't skip steps in life. You have to go through the process and you learn. And, the next time I write a book, I'll be even better.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of different things, like, especially on the technical end, that it's either going to cost you time or money. You just have to choose which one you're willing to part with.
And it's funny too, because even when I first started playing with the Globetrotters back in 1999, I started writing a book, and I actually have I was handwriting it. I actually still have the first 5 chapters of it. And that's when I guess, even 20 years ago, I thought that one day I would start to write. It was called After the Game, ironically. And that's
funny.
I get to go back and finish. I remember just recently looking over it, and I'm talking about, telling my age, I'm talking about guys like Walter Payton and Ken Griffey Jr. and just the young athletes when they were young back then, and how we wanted to be like them. And, it's just kind of a fictional story that I was going to tell how it ends, but I get to finish that one too. But it started a long time ago for me.
Wow. Enjoy. I can't wait to see that one, and how it would change from when you were just starting to now that it is after the Globetrotter games for you.
Like all fictional characters, but that are like realistic characters, but not the real names.
Wow. Nice. Oh, I can't wait to see that, because you're about my age, so that would be also the Globetrotters that I knew, right? In the Fat Albert days, and
Big 4-4 on this past Saturday, August 1st.
Nice. I think I remember from when I was a kid, Curly, right?
Curly Neal.
Yeah, I think he was my favorite when I was growing up.
He just recently passed away, but he was.
I'm sorry.
Definitely one of the icons, and I don't know if you knew this, but I was one of the guys who was the last person to wear his number 22.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah, we retired his number. I think it was 2007 or 2008 at Madison Square Garden. His number was 22, and at that point, I had worn the number for my first 7 years, and I just switched over to number 4 from there. And it was a great ceremony, and it was pretty cool to be a part of that ceremony and see him honored in a way that nobody else would ever wear his number as a Globetrotter.
Wow, that's incredible. I could talk about that all day with you, although we're getting a little bit off topic. So I'll bring us back to books. But I mean, I could just listen to your stories all day long. And for those of you guys who are watching our live, if you want to know more of his stories, I definitely recommend that you head over to Amazon and you pick up a copy of Projects, Popes, and Presidents. Although we are a little bit early in the broadcast for the promo, but I just really want people to go and check out your book. I think people will really love it. So let's talk a little bit more about after the book, since we're talking about after the game. I mean, what has been the effect of having a book now that the book is published, it's written, you're a best-selling author? What's happened for you?
The effect has been amazing. I mean, I had a pretty decent reach before, but it's a different type of people now that I'm reaching. And since publishing the book is when I really had a chance to go back out on stage and start speaking. something that's kind of been slowed down now due to the current situation. But
Yeah.
immediately after the book, a lot of things opened up for me, and it started out with me actually going back home to my hometown. Went back to my hometown, spoke in my elementary school, did some things just around the whole state of Arkansas, and then ended up going back again just before COVID broke out. I had an opportunity to go and speak in front of the Chamber of Commerce in my hometown. I mean, something that I could have never imagined growing up in a small town in Arkansas with some of the things and obstacles that we dealt with. But I learned from that it was necessary for me to go into the next level, the next phase of my life. It was necessary for me to go back to where I started from, at my hometown of Brinkley, Arkansas. And as a result of going there, I remember coming back to California and Sacramento now, where I live at, feeling rejuvenated. I feel like I found my mission. I found my purpose. Just the reception that I got from the people, seeing my third grade teacher, my fourth grade teacher,
Wow.
at the Chamber of Commerce event. It made me realize that everything that I was doing, that I've done, is worth it. And to know that they were all proud of me, and to know that they lived vicariously through my travels, and it's just great. I mean, that's what it's been, and how proud they were of me. And we knew you were going to make it. We knew you get.
Yeah. What an incredible experience to be able to go back to that.
Yeah.
Who says you can't be a prophet in your own hometown?
Right. And that just let me know right there that I get to go beyond even my hometown, because I've traveled the world. So I get to spread the kindness and the love that they showed me throughout my life, and even now throughout the world. I don't get to stop there, but that was just a light to show me this is what you get to do. This is what you need to do as a result of the book. And I think that was probably one of the biggest things that happened, because we sold a lot of books there that night as well.
Wow. That's great. So for other people, do you think, why is it important for them to have a book or to tell their stories? I mean, both in business and life.
Because of the power and the reach. I mean, the connection and the difference that you get to make in people. I've had several people now tell me that some of the stories that I've talked about have been relative and allowed them to shift their way of thinking, the positive mindset, the way of thinking, even just the way I post things. It's all positivity. It's all kindness. It's all, I challenged, it's funny, earlier this year, I have 5 sisters and 3 brothers. And I challenged my mom even on the social media. I said, man, what if we just posted 2 positive things for every one thing that may be negative, or the thing that we may want to have a conversation about? If we did that, there would be more positive stuff out than negative. Negative doesn't mean it has to be negative. It just means it's something that you want to have a conversation about. But how about shifting to spreading a couple, we're quick to post the negative thing. Oh, look at this. Oh, look at that. I've already seen it, because 10 people beat you to send it to me. Why can't 10 people beat you sending me something positive? So
right.
That's just my mindset. That's just the way I think, and I can't change it now. I'm all in.
So, I mean, for other experts, or, well, I think we're talking about, even though your book is a memoir, it's a memoir written with an eye towards speaking or as a speaker. So it's not just a memoir, I guess. So for other people who are kind of on the fence, or they're thinking about it, what would you say to them?
I would say think about all the people whose life you get to make a difference in. They're your stories, but God gave you those stories to share. And if you're selfish and you don't share the experiences and the knowledge that you gained, and you take it with you, then what have you done? What kind of impression have you left? That's a sense of selfishness. So that's what I say. I mean, there's power in telling your story. And if you know that you've had an experience that's going to make a difference in somebody else's life and change their trajectory in a way that they live a better life, or just change their life in a positive way, it's a domino effect. It just goes down. So I think that's one of the major reasons why, because of the effect that you can have on other people from your experiences.
What do you think holds people back?
They're afraid. They're afraid to be open and authentic. And that fear of being open is what's holding people back from moving forward. It's keeping them back from going into what they really want to do in life, what they really want to be, because in the past they were told, you have to be this, you have to be that, the traditional way of thinking. And so they're stuck in that, not realizing that the world is changing. It's time to move forward.
Yeah. So you would say, just do it.
Let's go. Keep going. It's time to go. Let's go. Stop playing around. The time
Yeah.
is now. We're in a pandemic, but don't just sit around in the pandemic. Figure out something during this pandemic.
Yeah. It's not about the books specifically, but I want to talk to you more about your kindness project and your kindness movement that you're doing, because I just think it's a really exciting thing. And the more that we can talk about it and put it out there, the more people that can join your movement.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that it all came to me again after my trip to Arkansas, and I ended up doing a podcast with this really cool guy, Ryan, and it just came out. Kindness is free, and I realized that from traveling the world, I think that I've done a really good job of being kind to people. But now I really, really get to live in it every single day, and I have to remind myself. I get to remind myself every single day that kindness is free, and I feel like my mission is also to remind people that it costs us nothing. We often complain about the monetary things that we don't have, but at the end of the day, we know that the best things in life are free, and kindness is one of them. And so kindness is free is simple. You have an abundance of kindness. So I just encourage people to realize that you can give it away and never run out of it. And I send messages to my brothers and to my, kids in the morning and say, hey, random act of kindness to 5 people today. And just imagine just how they're going to respond when you're randomly like, hey, hello, how you doing? Or smile or compliment. Catch people off guard with kindness. So that's a part of my movement. And anybody that knows me and they know if you're coming with positive negativity, I'll listen for a little bit. And then I got to keep going because I can't dwell in that, because there's other people that I get to solve for and get to help.
Yeah. Well, I really love that. And so what else is on the table for you? What's coming up in Herb's life, in the next few months?
Well, what's coming up, I'm actually working on a documentary, trying to get a platform for some of my former teammates and get them back up and running, because typically what happens sometimes with Globetrotters is that, we get to play for 5, 10. For myself, I was lucky to play for 18 years, and we do a lot of really great things. And we kind of get a little bit of a public eye. We get certain stages, but once we go away, they tend to not have that stage anymore. And these guys are still doing great things. And part of my mission is to make sure that they get some of the same opportunities that I, got during my 18-year career, which was appearing on shows like Amazing Race and Price is Right. A lot of these guys didn't get that. And these are the guys that I learned from. So my mission is I want to give these guys a stage and a platform as well to be able to speak and talk again and share their stories, because even though they may not be able to run up and down the court, the way they used to, they still can handle the basketball. They still can inspire. So they get to get back in front of the world. That's just one thing. I'm building a new home, getting ready to build a new home down in Florida.
Wow.
Well, which part of my mission is to have some basketball clinics several times during the course of the year, and just, teach kids a different way of thinking. And I want them to realize that, no matter where you come from, we're going to have it mixed up, kids from different socioeconomic backgrounds. And they're going to realize that at the end of the day, we're the same. And that's one of the things I learned from traveling around the world. And we get to do whatever we want to do in this life, and we get to be it. And we get to ask questions. So that's part of my mission and part of my vision for my home. We're going to go to events. We're going to bring speakers in. Whatever kids are interested in is what I'm listening to. And that's what we're moving forward with, because they are the future. And if we can't make this world or adapt to the way that they want it, we're going to become extinct. And I choose to live.
That is so exciting. And I think you're right. I think that I think it's really hard to change people who, that are already grown up. I mean, people.
But not impossible. It's difficult.
I agree, and especially if they're willing to be open.
Basketball camp too. They're going to get some weekends too.
Yeah.
I'll have kids drop them off.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Well, so I mean, I think that's it. I think it's got to be the next generation that's, where they don't have the, I don't know, the biases, the jadedness. I mean, they might have picked up attitude from their parents, but they don't have the life experience that confirmed it necessarily. And maybe there's a little bit more openness. I mean, maybe working on that next generation, we can have a much, much brighter future than, what we've been sitting in lately.
Absolutely. We have to listen to them. We have to pay attention to them. And I've been telling this story a lot lately. When I was a kid, I used to dream and envision that one day we would be able to use a phone, like the Jetsons, per se, and like have the conversation that we're having, like we're looking at each other right now. I saw this as a kid, like I knew that this would happen. So just think about and imagine what these kids are thinking about. Imagine that, tap into their brain and think about what you imagine that as a kid that's actually happening, and just try to imagine what they're thinking that's possibly going to happen and try to help them create it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I didn't think about that, but you're kind of right. I mean, short of the flying cars, we kind of are living in the Jetsons.
Short of the flying cars. And I'm sure
Wow.
they'll see those flying cars and beyond what we're thinking.
Right. Wow. That's really cool. So, is there anything, I mean, you covered so many of my questions without me even asking them. Is there anything else that you want to share? Anything else that, you want to talk about, or that you're excited about, or that's happening with you right now?
I'm just excited about life. I'm excited about the opportunity to continue to share. Have a new project that's coming out. I think it's actually coming out tomorrow. A new book that I was asked to team up with Jim Britt and Kevin Harrington called Cracking the Rich Code Volume 4. I don't know if I was supposed to talk about it, but I kind of made a little makeshift book cover on that one.
Nice. Well, it's coming out tomorrow. Let's talk about it.
This is kind of what it looks like.
Very cool.
Pretty exciting. Tony Robbins with a little forward down there at the bottom. But that's another thing that happened as a result of me writing a book. If I hadn't written Projects, Popes, and Presidents, they would have never approached me for the opportunity to contribute to this book. So the blessings continue to come in, and as a result of the way of being, I get to continue to grow and help people. So like I said, that's 1-2 books, and there's going to be more to come. So we get to do more work together, and we get to make a difference in more people's lives.
So what is the biggest piece of advice that you have for current entrepreneurs and experts who are trying to figure out what the right move for them is in this, to book or not to book? Or
I would say during this pandemic, one of the things I was challenging people to do is, like, you have all this extra time, and people still have a lot of extra time on their hand. Entrepreneurs, you have to start thinking like an entrepreneur. You can't just watch these people on TV and say, oh my God, wow, how did they get there? Actually do the research and figure out what steps it took for them to get there. You have time. I mean, almost not be a stalker, but like literally figure out what the people did to do what they, doing that you're admiring on television or whatever it is that you're admiring them on. And just like, you have the time, figure it out, just do it and go for it. And you can't listen to people telling you you can't do it, or the naysayers holding you back, because if you're hanging around people like that, you're in trouble anyway. So you have to start surrounding yourself with people who are thinking in that mind frame. And that comes in the forms of jumping on some of these, Zoom calls and building up your LinkedIn profile like I did. And nothing against Facebook and Instagram and all of that, which I love because I promote on them also. But yeah, you got to use other tools than just the fun ones. And so that's the challenge I give to entrepreneurs. Use some of your money to things that are going to be productive to you, and realize that if you sacrifice now, those little things that you're paying for now, you can have them in abundance down the road if you invest in yourself.
Nice. Love it. And how can people learn more about you?
Well, people want to learn more about me, they can find me again. I just mentioned LinkedIn, Herbert S. Lang, Projects, Popes, and Presidents. You can find that on Amazon. I have a website, herblang.com. You can find me on all social media. I am Trotter4 at Trotter4 on Instagram as well as Twitter. And I'd love to hear from anybody. I'm open to conversation. I'm open to anybody who's ready to change the world. So feel free to contact me, and let's change the world, because kindness is free. Don't cost us a dime. Let it go.
I love that. I love that so much. And if I'm just going to put in my own little plug for my book real quick too, if you don't mind. But this is my book, Book It. And all of you guys in Facebook land and YouTube and everywhere else looking at this, if you want a free copy of my book, you can download it off my website. I cannot get both me and my book in. There we go. Expert Book for You. That's Expert Book, the number 4 and the letter u.com. Thank you. Expert Book for You. You can download a free copy of my book and head over to Amazon and check out Herb's book, Projects, Popes, and Presidents. There's just some great pictures in here. I mean, the picture of you standing over President Obama. I'm so excited that you're doing that. I was going to ask you, but I didn't want to impose. I wish I had a ball.
Okay, I won't get up because the rest of my attire is not as nice as the top of my attire.
Okay. That is, oh my God, that is so awesome.
All right.
Wow. Oh, I can't even top that. That is the best way to end a video. That was amazing. Thank you, Herb. What a treat.
Well, there's more where that came from.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait till, we get to see people in person, and maybe you can try to show me how to do. I don't think that I'm going to be able to do it. I'm not very
Oh, yeah.
coordinated, but I'll
Yeah.
try. And even if I can, I'm going to have fun trying, and I don't mind. I don't mind making a little bit of a fool out of myself. But anyways, this has really been an honor and a pleasure and a privilege, and I am so grateful to you for coming on and talking to us, and sharing your story and your struggles with us. And for everybody listening, I really do encourage you to go over to Amazon and pick up his book. I think you'll like it, no matter what your area of expertise or your topic. This is just something that everybody can enjoy.
Don't forget, this one's
That's
coming.
right. And tomorrow he's got Cracking the Rich Code coming out.
Volume 4.
With Kevin Harrington. Volume 4, yeah. That's
Yeah.
Kevin Harrington, who was one of the original Sharks, right?
Yeah.
And Brett, yeah, who's also a really big name in the industry.
Then you have a forward there by Mr. Robbins.
That's right. So. Very exciting. Well, I will definitely be picking up a copy of that as well.
All right.
So actually, I will ask you just one more. I mean, you kind of gave the answer before, but do you plan to write more books? Do you have more books in you?
Absolutely. I get to finish after the game, and one of the things that happens as a result of writing this book, that chapter, is that I realized that I have so much more to talk about, and I didn't have enough space to write it. So this has been a great outline for my next book. And so, I mean, that's something that came out of writing this book. So it's like a flower, it's like a branch. You write one book and you continue to branch off. And so that's what's happening right now, and it's pretty cool.
Very cool. So guys, I also recommend then that on Amazon, you can follow authors. So I would hit that follow button and you'll get notices when new stuff comes out from her. Yeah. So that is so exciting. Well, again, thank you so much for being with us. This was amazing. And I can't wait to see what comes up next.
All right.
I mean, for you.
I know we've already talked about this, but I can't let us get off this phone call without letting the people know that kindness is free.
That's right.
Cost a dime. Let it go. So give it away freely.
Yes. Amen. I'm with you there. And on that note, I'm going to end the broadcast. Hold on one second. Don't you leave yet. And I will see you guys tomorrow, where I've got a really special guest tomorrow. In addition to being an author of numerous books and a lifelong editor, journalist, and publisher, he's also my dad. So yeah, so tune in tomorrow and you'll get to meet my daddy, who, is legitimately also an author. So, but anyways, all right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Mwah. Oh my God, I love that.